Yo, what is up guys? Today we're going to talk about a lot of different updates for Linux Mint, and they're going to come around Christmas, okay? So don't shout in the comments saying, why am I talking about them right now? There has been a monthly newsletter update and we're going to talk all about this, so stay tuned. Okay, so this is the monthly news for June. It was released yesterday on 8th of July. Today is the 9th, and they do have a ton of things to talk about. Now, the first thing is Wayland. Now, they have really worked hard, and finally, Wayland is no longer considered experimental. It is almost on par with X11. Now, that is an excellent news. That is fantastic to hear. Everybody is switching over from X11 to Wayland. That is what other people have done. I mean, they have done it for a really long time, some of these desktop environments, but Cinnamon being on Wayland, that really makes me happy. So here are some of the improvements that they have implemented. They have proper mapping for the new windows, applet pop-up menus and context menus. They have proper focus stealing prevention. Mini Wayland crash scenarios have been fixed in Cinnamon, Muffin, and Cinnamon Session, and X Wayland, which is now important because most of your games are going to be running in X Wayland, and you also have a few apps that are going to use X Wayland because they have not yet been ported over to Wayland. You also have improved support for multi-monitors and KVM switches. This is something which comes with Wayland. You have hardware acceleration throughout the compositor, desktop session, and both Wayland and X11 clients. And they do it for WLDRM, ZWP Linux, Feedback 4, and the hardware accelerated GBM over EGL. Now this is only for NVIDIA graphics card users. They also have full high DPI support, so crisp icons, fixes in mouse cursors, and bugs specific to Chromium apps such as Slack or VS Code. That is excellent news. High DPI support coming with Wayland, and they've also done their hard work and homework to make it fit with Cinnamon, which is great news. You also have window progress, so this is what allows for example, Nemo to see the copy progress in the panel app button, so that's pretty good. They also have root applications run as Wayland clients, so that's native, and you're not going to run them as X Wayland. And you also have a bunch of other session fixes. Now, when it comes to Cinnamon, Cinnamon is also going to receive the following improvements. So I think we're going to see Cinnamon 6.8 with the Christmas release of Linux Mint 23. That's pretty good. I'm excited for that. And now Cinnamon has a few of these improvements. So Cinnamon list windows command was introduced to make it easy to list all the open windows and to quickly see their position, size, high DPI, app, or backend info. Muffin now rounds coordinates and dimensions for all the clutter actors. This guarantees crisp and precise rendering and also fixes blur issues when applets or desktop components forget to do so by themselves. That's an excellent thing. You also have support for systemd's graphical session. This boosts Cinnamon's compatibility with many upstream projects. And now, when it comes to System, so System is receiving a few updates as well. SSH keyring support has been improved system-wide, fixes were implemented in the LightDM configuration, and support for fingerprint authentication was improved in Slick Greeter. I think that's going to help a lot of people. Placing your finger on the fingerprint reader is enough to log in. You no longer need to press enter afterwards. Now this may sound funny, but improving this is a huge load taken off of your cognitive processes, like every time hitting enter. It's not what we're naturally meant to do, so that's pretty good. Apart from this, you also have security updates. So another severe security flaw was found this month. So this is the CVE 2026-59159. So let's go ahead and open this in a new tab, and there we go. So this is basically local privilege escalation in Mint refresh cache via unvalidated command line argument. If this sounds like a mouthful, don't be afraid. Basically what happening over here is a local privilege escalation vulnerability. So basically, you're going somewhere where you're not really supposed to. So somebody who shouldn't be given higher access did get higher access. So basically, a local privilege escalation vulnerability was discovered in the Mint refresh cache. When launching Synaptic with a user-controlled parent window ID, insufficient validation allowed injection of additional command line arguments into the privileged Synaptic process. So basically, when you were launching Synaptic with the parent window ID, basically what was happening is the command line arguments that are getting passed, you could attach additional commands to that command line argument, and because you already have more privilege than you're supposed to, a local attacker could, you know, execute mint refresh cache via the sudo code, and they could inject arbitrary command line options. Like, they could do anything they wanted to because it was accepting additional command line arguments. This can result in arbitrary code execution as root via the privileged synaptic processes. Now, even if you don't understand anything, we all know that to use the command line, sometimes you need sudo, right? So sudo gives you super user access, basically giving you root authority to perform some tasks which, as a standard user, you are not allowed to. So they were basically given root access, and you could inject whatever you want to alongside the existing command line arguments, basically bypassing everything, and you could have done anything you really wanted to. I'm very glad that they discovered it, they talked about it, and the affected versions are all the Mint update versions between 5.4.8 and 6.1.5, and now they did fix. So the fix was validating the parent window as an integer before passing it to Synaptic. So basically not a float or double, but basically an integer value, a whole number value, preventing injection of additional command line options. And the vulnerability was discovered and reported by Robbie Lowen-Ross. I mean, applaud for Robbie Lowen-Ross. That's pretty good. Security updates were sent out 3 weeks ago for all the affected versions in both supported and end-of-life Linux Mint and LMDE releases. So, you know, if you're using Linux Mint, and this is something which I cannot stress enough, if you're using something which is old, which has already crossed its lifetime, it's already expired, already reached its end of life, even in those cases, Linux Mint team is sending out updates for all the supported versions of Linux Mint that has been affected by this CVE 2026-59-159 vulnerability. If you use Linux Mint, I can guarantee you that you are in good and safe hands, right? Like, this is something which not everybody does. But Linux Mint team, Clément Lefebvre, they do it, and I am very happy that they do it for their users, even for the versions that they have long stopped supporting. That is excellent news. And now they also go on to say the different sponsors and other things, and I'm pretty happy they received a total of $19,000 in sponsorships and donations. That's pretty good. And I think, yeah, that was pretty much it. Like I said, very small video. I think with that, we can comfortably come to the end of the video. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Very, very small update. Linux Mint monthly news for June, published on July. So I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.